Today, we are going to be talking about digital PR for real estate brokerage firm owners. It's a really exciting, fast-moving, high-opportunity space. We're really damn good at it.
We mostly work with brokerage owners, but if you're an agent, this is the same principles, the same exact things. The press does not care if you own the brokerage or you're just an agent. You can still follow these strategies.
The more authority that you can build to individual agents, like the more compounding and impactful that this can be as well.
Definitely.
Want to attract and convert more leads? Want to learn how digital PR, branding, and SEO can establish and build your brand identity? Welcome to the Market Movers Building Brands and Links with Linkifi podcast. We answer these questions and help you ramp up your brand visibility and credibility. Let's cut through the noise and make your business the talk of the town. We're your hosts, Nick and Chris. Let's get this show on the road.
Welcome to the Market Movers podcast. Today is another very special episode where we are guestless. Myself, Chris Panteli, and Nick Biggs, co-founders of Linkifi. Today, we are going to be talking about something that we love doing, and that is digital PR for real estate brokerage firm owners. We love it for a couple of reasons. One, it's a really exciting, fast-moving, high-opportunity space. And two, we're really damn good at it. Nick, welcome to the show.
All right. So we'll also say this works the exact same for agents. So we mostly work with brokerage owners, although we do work with just some agents. But if you're an agent, this is the same principles, the same exact things. Usually for these type of opportunities, the press does not care if you own the brokerage or you're just an agent. So if you're just an agent, you can still follow these strategies.
Yeah. We work with a lot of high volume teams where they'll have maybe the owner or manager of the team and like a couple of the agents they have within the team. So the more authority that you can build to individual agents, like the more compounding and impactful that this can be as well.
Definitely. All right. So today we're going to be going over 4 strategies, 4 things that we focus on for PR for real estate agents and firms. Number 1, expert commentary. This is sort of where we got our start as an agency. We're very good at this. Not to brag, but this is sort of our origin. So expert commentary, this is usually done through inbound channels. It can be done through outbound as well, but primarily through inbound. So these are platforms like Haro, Help a Reporter Out. If you're familiar with the space, you're familiar with Haro. It was the main platform. It was actually the term used, sort of like a Band-Aid, or it became, that's what everyone knows this whole industry by. Yeah, is Haro, which did die out and then come back. So Haro is one platform. We've got SOS, Response Source, some other ones as well. So this is where journalists, when they're actively looking for a quote, they go out to these platforms and they put out a request. They say, I'm looking for a real estate agent to talk about, remodeling your kitchen and if it's worth it, blah, blah, blah. So we monitor those platforms. Our agents can monitor those platforms, look for the opportunities, and then come up with a quote, send it to the journalist. So that's number 1. This one is great because honestly, these journalists are looking for real estate agents, right? So they're already looking for someone. Versus some of the other strategies where you're pitching someone an idea. Here, they're already looking for it. So the whole plan, the whole goal is to come up with a quote that will grab their attention, that they'll like, and they'll include it in that article.
I think as well, what's important to state here is the fact that if you're listening to this and you are a real estate agent or you're a real estate brokerage firm owner with agents and you're thinking, how can I possibly do PR for myself, for my firm? Like, why are huge publications like Realtor.com or Inman or House Digest or Architecture Digest, why are they going to quote me in these huge publications? And just like Nick said, they are continuously sourcing for experts. And as a licensed real estate broker, you have those credentials. And if you provide good commentary, timely, poignant, well-written, you have as much shot as anyone else. And you don't need to be the highest volumes, loudest, most followed social media real estate brokerage broker in the world. You just need to do those things that we said. And we'll discuss that as we progress through. But honestly, those opportunities, they are there for you to take. So if you're listening to this and you're not doing it, I can almost guarantee your competition isn't doing it, and you can do it and achieve incredible results.
Yeah, and there are huge platforms, like you said. So this is the easiest way to get started in PR and real estate. Go monitor these platforms. You can get into Realtor.com. We've gotten into Zillow, List with Clever, lots of real estate specific publications in Man
Housing Wire.
Housing Wire that you can get into. And also, like Chris said, I think this is a really important point. Like, this is open for all agents. It does not matter if you own a brokerage or not. It does not matter your sales volume. The journalists, they will make sure that you're an actual agent, but they are not going to look and see about your sales volume. So that does not matter. You could be in a small town with not a lot of homes to sell, and if you have good advice, that is what they're looking for. So it's all about the advice, the quote that you give to them.
Yeah, and I mean, keep it relevant, like we said, like relevant, poignant, timely. Don't be pitching a journalist if they're looking for specific, commentary on a locale that you don't have any knowledge of.
Yeah.
So if they're looking for a real estate brokerage commentary on the Californian real estate market and you're in Denver, and you've never been to California, then don't pitch that.
Yeah. Step 1, go to California.
Yeah.
Step 2, now you can pitch it. Okay. So no, yeah, that's a great point, because it's definitely the case that this is not quantity, it is quality, right? So it does not, you can pay attention to these requests as they come in, and you pitch what's available. So if there's nothing available that day, that doesn't, the idea is not, well, now I'll stretch and I'll go pitch this. So stick to what you can pitch. Quality, timely, yeah, I think it's a good place to start with for PR. Okay, number 2, we'll talk about digital PR campaigns. So these are the campaigns that you put together, you come up with an idea, and you're reaching out to journalists. These can be broad national campaigns where you're talking about housing trends, or they can be hyperlocal. We very much prefer hyperlocal. Broad national ones can be extremely hard to break into. It's really, really challenging to come up with a story that I think the bigger publications that are covering like national stuff will want to cover. They usually have the experts that they work with, so they typically don't run with those kind of PR campaigns. So
there can be a lot of work, high risk as well, which is another thing that
absolutely, yeah. Now, hyperlocal, this works a bit differently because there's not a lot of competition. Now, if you think about like Forbes, New York Times, everyone is pitching those publications. It's extremely hard to get through the journalist. You're in Charlotte, North Carolina, and you see that there's a new law that's being discussed that would affect the real estate market or the builders, things that they can do, building regulations. Those are things that people in Charlotte will want to hear about, the journalists will want opinions on, and they're not getting pitched that often, surprisingly. So following what's going on in your local market can be real estate trends overall. If there's nothing really interesting going, like reaching out to journalists, telling them that the rates are still high and the market's still slow, that's not interesting, right? But someone announces they're building a new luxury real estate building, something like that. Any type of new development, new laws that are being discussed or already being introduced. Those are the kind of things that make great campaigns to reach out to your local journalist.
And they can be boring and often are. They're a lot more effective. The national ones, if you are a creative and you've got time, you can do well with the national campaigns. One of the best ones that we saw in recent, and it wasn't us, I wish it was, but you'll see why this was genius. When the Barbie movie came out, I think local real estate brokerage firm had put together like a really in-depth cost analysis of how much it would actually cost to build Barbie's house in California, and that got picked up everywhere. And you can see why. I mean, they had a great idea at the exact right time. They obviously had a really good list. They did really well. But you can straight away see as well that, albeit that's amazing with they've got some fantastic coverage, really building your authority within your industry and especially your local industry. It comes a lot more from they're discussing those local issues as opposed to those broader, a bit more comical and less authoritative stories.
Yeah, it's not as sexy as what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
The Barbie one was very cool. No, I do think the national ones can work a bit better in the UK. You have more success there. The US is a little bit harder. It does have to be a really good idea. The local one, I think that's available to everyone. Our team doesn't love working on those kind of stories. They can be a bit tedious. They can be a bit boring, but they are very relevant to the people who live in those cities. So
yeah,
a great option there. Okay. Number 3 is traditional PR. We in-house call this authority PR because you are building your authority. Traditional is just boring, right? So we call it authority PR. So this is a bit different. And typically when you're doing digital PR, you're looking for that backlink. Yeah, sure, you like the exposure, especially if you're doing local local PR. But most companies are doing this more as like an SEO initiative. Now, when you move to authority PR, traditional PR, this becomes not at all an SEO initiative and a brand building initiative. So you think exposure, but also think AI visibility. That is I think the surging demand in traditional PR is around that. It's build up your brand, build up your authority in the space. And that's how you're getting these AI models to recognize you as the leader in the industry and start recommending you when people are looking for an agent. Now, this is a completely different strategy. Here you're coming up with the narratives that you want to be known for, that you have some expertise around. It's not just home sales. If you just go out with home sales information, you will be, you won't have a lot of success. So you have to think about like what kind of sets our brokerage apart. What do I really want to be known for? And then flesh out those narratives. So for the companies we work with, that's everything from retention to building with AI. So we go like well beyond just like, this is what happened in the market this week. This is what happened because of the Fed meeting. Now, what's great about this is as you start to build relationships with publications, they actually will come back to you and ask for comments whenever there's a major Fed meeting or something's happening in the market, right? But you can't really reach out with those topics initially. So step one, you sit down, you think about the narratives that you're going to talk about, the things you want to be known for. And then step two is you put together your outreach list. So here, unlike digital PR, you're going to be very, very targeted. You're going to be very specific in who you reach out to, and you're going to be very personalized in that outreach. You're not going to say, here's a campaign, or here's an idea I had, here's what Barbie's dream house would cost to build in California, right? You're reaching out and you're trying to make a connection with a very specific journalist or editor. And usually you're going to be looking for an interview, an op-ed piece where you actually write the piece that's published on the website or publication.
Yeah.
So, Chris, tell us about some of the coverage we've landed doing traditional authority PR.
Well, actually, I think an important point to make there as well, which you just touched on, is that differential between those two types, like putting a Barbie story out to the media is very much the story is front and center, and it's being signed off by that sort of touch of authority of like, okay, this is a real estate broker, this is the firm behind it, or this is the person behind the idea. But it's very much about the idea as opposed to the personal or what their thoughts are. Authority PR is very much about the person. It's like, do interview me. These are my views on the Austin, Texas real estate market. This is my view on why house prices have gone up and why brokerage retention rates are dropping in the air. And that is building real authority. And when you look at the way that search is like transitioning over the recent months, back in the day, Google, you built authority through links, essentially. EAT came out in the last few years as well. But we know now that Gemini is going to be powering everything, which is AI. And so how are sort of search engines or places that people can find information, how are they going to transition away from just links to be able to know what sources they can trust? And that's like building real demonstrable brand, isn't it? So if you are being continuously interviewed on TV, radio, magazines, byline op-ed pieces, and you are associating yourself and your entity, your business all together, you can just see the logic behind that. If someone goes into ChatGPT and says, I'm looking for a real estate broker in X city who's good, like who are they going to pick? The person that hasn't done any of that and has got like, a handful of good backlinks, or the person that's been everywhere and done everything? It's like, it's pretty obvious, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And it's like it's really a compounding thing. And it's hard to see like the direct. So like it's the same thing with SEO, right? If you like search for who's the best brokerage, like the companies you see there, you're not seeing their press coverage, right? But it's all of that behind the scenes that's building up that authority. Whether it's the links that go back to the website, or it's just when the AI does its training runs, right? And it sees that these are the people being talked about for these topics. All that sort of plays under the scenes, and the brand building initiatives, they just really start to compound over time.
Yeah. Okay, so some of the sorts of coverage that we're landing. Obviously, this will start with an introduction to the person, which is completely different to any other sorts of PR. Expert commentary, you're waiting for the journalist to say, I'm looking for X, Y, and Z. You see that, you then reply, telling them that you are what they're looking for, and this is, your response to their sort of call out. Outbound campaigns, like we said, is very much the story. You're putting together this big elaborate story. It's data, or it's interesting, it's unique, and you're putting the story out there and you're hoping that journalists open it, like it, and want to cover it. This is very much like starting off very calmly and targeted with certain journalists, and introducing yourself, your business, and saying trying to begin that relationship. And that's why I think that we're really loving this as well, is because it's fundamentally built around relationships as opposed to all of the other types of PR, digital PR and like outbound campaign stuff. This is very much centrally built on relationships. So it's not a sort of a one-hit wonder, like, oh, we've got that, that's great, but that's like, how do we nurture that and build on it? Like, this starts with the relationship. And it can start with maybe like, could I contribute to something? Would you be interested in doing an interview with me? Or, we'll start with just an introduction of who you are, sort of your main sort of talking points, your narratives, your thoughts, your views, and then looking for those opportunities. And often we'll start with sort of tier 2 publications. And that's not to belittle when we say tier 2, we just mean that it's not New York Times or the BBC. It's going to be a bit more specific, not necessarily lower traffic or lower DR, just like less superstar-y BBC.
Superstar-y.
Yeah.
Right.
So we sort of start there, introduce the client, and then start looking for those like initial opportunities, which can be things like an expert commentary in an upcoming article. Often it will lead to a Bylined authorship piece, which is where the publication itself, so you're not necessarily talking to journalists at this point, but maybe editors of the publication, where they're looking to actually have you, the client, the real estate broker, write a full article for that publication, and they will say that it's written by you, and they will give you a byline. You'll often have then your own author page, which will often have a link to your homepage, additional information, and that will have been discussed, the narrative. You'll get that opportunity, and then that almost always lends itself to repeat.
No, don't go there. That's number 4. We'll get to that in a minute. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So anyway, from there, then once you've started that seeding like element of this process, and you've started to get those first initial opportunities, that will then sort of compound. Maybe the journalist or the editor that you've spoken to writes for other publications or knows other editors. That can then lead to other opportunities, things like podcasts, which are, we've had real estate brokerage owners on podcasts like the Real Deal podcast, Housing Wire podcast, and then it can lead to things like TV. TV, actual TV, where we've had, I think, CNBC, Bloomberg. We had a BBC opportunity, which unfortunately was too rushed, but I'm sure we'll get that again. These things are just insane. And then everything that you can imagine that could lead into, things like speaking events. All of these things will often come with potentially backlinks, but, not always.
Usually not, yeah.
Yeah, but it's actual coverage, which is being definitely read by all of the machines. So, Google can see this and the LLMs can see this.
So this will go on TV and then on the website as well. So yeah, goes both. And then we also had a New York Times journalist go out to one of our clients and interview them there. So some huge coverage. The biggest publications, some of the biggest networks you can get on. You can become on these. And now I think if you've never done this and you're thinking like, that's like, I couldn't do that. Like there's what would I talk about? Like I think everyone has like something, and if you're running a brokerage, like you have something that sets your brokerage apart from other ones, not right? Like that's going to be in your company structure, your company DNA, your values, whatever. There's going to be something that this makes us interesting and unique, and you need to flesh that out. And then you're absolutely, capable and worthy of like going on these big publications and talking about maybe your market or the overall market or different narratives.
Yeah.
So for us, we think that is probably the biggest thing you can achieve in PR, other than maybe speaking events, is getting on these big news publications. That is absolutely the biggest brand building thing I think you can do in PR space.
Yeah, and you can use all of this as well. Don't forget, like you can, if you have like all of your clients or potential clients on a newsletter. You can send them like the
Yep.
interviews that you've been on, like you can reinforce that credibility and that authority. Social media, you can repurpose. You can even try and motivate your team. Me, owner of X brokerage firm in this state, has just been on CNBC. It's just the magnitude, the scope, the possibilities of it. We are just so excited by this, aren't we? This digital PR for real estate is just gone beyond just where we started, and the future just seems so bright.
Yeah, and I think also if you're sitting at home thinking like, okay, if, let's say I'm on CNBC or Bloomberg, like how does that directly lead to selling homes? But it's the downstream effect, right? Like if you can go on Bloomberg and talk about the housing market, like you can absolutely leverage that to be on all of your local stations, and that's where your actual potential customers will see you. But beyond that, everything else you're trying to do requires building up your credibility. If you're recruiting other agents, hiring other agents, all of that is about your authority and brand building. So huge there. Now, the other one you were alluding to, which is number 4, is contributor accounts. So when you've been featured on a publication, maybe they really liked your views, they want you to do it again, right? So they're usually looking for people who can write good content, who can do, and for us, we'll collect the ideas and the quotes from the clients, and then we actually write it for them because we're, doing this for years and years and years. We can create the kind of content that will get published. Contributors, this is where a publication has you monthly, could be even more than that. Some will do bi-weekly, some even weekly. They'll have you contribute an article. You write an article every month. Now, this is really big for brand building, for EAT. So think about when Google is deciding who's trustworthy. If you have a column or a monthly contributor to Inman or to Realtor.com, like those are huge trust signals. So that helps immensely for your Google SEO and for AI visibility as well. All those signals are telling the models and Google, this website, this broker is credible. They are constantly being featured in Realtor.com. They have their own column. Now, this is also probably the thing that drives us the most crazy at our agency is we will sometimes have clients who are like, oh, I've already been in Realtor.com. I don't need to be there a second time. And that we always have to push back and say, you want to be there as many times as you can. You want to contribute as much as possible because this is building your authority. So I think if I'll explain like why people have this view, this comes from like an old SEO rule that says that each additional link you get from a publication has a diminishing SEO effect. But that's not what we're looking at here. We're not looking at the link power, the link juice from that link. We're looking at the credibility, the authority. Once Google started using EAT as a ranking factor, this became, I think, more important. But I think it's just obvious. Like if you see someone is a columnist in the New York Times, like have you ever read that and been like, you've written other times for the New York Times? Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like more you're in the publication, the more you trust that person really knows what they're talking about.
100%. And like, look, I'll hold my hands up here and, whilst I'll sit here and laugh with you, Nick, now at people that are like, oh my God, I've already been in Architectural Digest. Like, why do I want to be in there again? I remember being offered a regular contributor account to one of the like larger marketing publications. I can't remember if it was like Search Engine Land or Search Engine Journal or Ahrefs, like one of the big, places that you want to be. And I remember thinking, oh God, I'm going to write an article every month. Like, nah, I can't be bothered. Whereas now...
Remind me to smack you next time I see you in person.
Now, when I think about the people in our space, like we do a lot of brand building. I'll do a lot of podcasts. We'll do that. But Bylined authorship piece, it's only now when I'm like looking and thinking, damn, why did I turn that down? Like the big people in our space, they are contributing every week or every month to 2 or 3 of the biggest publications, or any industry you look at, the biggest people are contributing, and there's a reason for it because it works.
Well, and we do it for our clients. So we'll write that piece. We'll get all the quotes from you. We'll get information. So you don't even have to sit down and write it. Maybe you would have done it then if we were, if somebody else would have written it.
This was a while ago. Yeah, this was pre-AI where you actually had to like use your fingers to type.
Yeah.
But okay. So there are lots and lots of ways that PR for real estate brokerage owners and agents can have potentially immeasurable impact on your business. What about the brokerage owners and realtors listening to this now thinking that PR isn't for them? They have been paying for leads consistently and doing well. Like, what are the dangers of just resting on your laurels with that model, do you think?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think paying for your leads is from every realtor I've ever talked to, like, it's a crappy system. I think a lot of realtors rely on it because they just don't want to invest in their SEO. Maybe they just have no idea where to start with that. I've never talked to a realtor who was happy with the pay for leads model. The leads that you're going to get from someone who finds you organically are going to be so much better. You're not, I don't know. There's just no comparing the lead quality. But if you take away just the SEO part, just focus on the brand building, I think the trends is showing that AI search is going to keep going up. I think that is going to be the primary way the younger generation is going to discover everything they do. That's how they're going to pick an agent, a neighborhood. So if you're not showing up in that conversation, I think you're really going to fall behind. You're going to rely more on the paid for leads. And I understand, like, let's say you never focused on your SEO. You got in, it was already super competitive. You're looking at who's already ranking. These people have had websites for years. They have high authority. But now we're coming into a new era, right? And so you don't want to make the same mistake again, not paying attention to it, not building it now, because in 5-10 years from now, if you're still paying for leads and you're looking at the other agents that did invest in their brand building and they're getting lots of leads from ChatGPT, you're not going to be happy with yourself. So
yeah, definitely.
No-brainer,
and without, like, I'll try and tell a super quick story without sounding sickly, if I can. But the way I've seen this work, like through what we do, is I've done like a number of high profile speaking events and podcasts. I had a client call with someone a few weeks ago and they'd seen me speak at a conference and then they'd heard me on a podcast. And when they came onto the call, the first thing that they said was, wow, Chris, I didn't think you'd be taking the call. So they were like, I don't want to say starstruck, but like they were, no, don't be sick. Do not be sick. But I think you can understand what I'm saying. Like that lead compared to somebody who saw us on, let's say, a paid ad or a cold email. This person like didn't know me, but they were like, okay, like that was my sale to lose. We didn't lose it. We closed it. And there's a reason for that. Yeah. And also as well, just to finish, I think that there is going to be like a golden opportunity now for local brokerage owners and agents to capitalize on this early. If you missed out on Bitcoin, if you missed out on the 90s .com boom, like this is the time to not miss out.
Yeah. Okay. The Bitcoin one, that's investing thesis, but all right. But I think that's a great point because the way people discover you when they show up has a huge impact, right? So this also is the same way with the leads we've had from ChatGPT, and we had Claude. We had a sale from Claude. Yeah. When those leads have come in, they've been pre-sold because they've been told by the AI model, like, here's the top companies for this. And then as they narrow it down, they end up with one, maybe sometimes two, but they come to you like they've already decided you're the best because they've worked that out in the AI model, in ChatGPT or Claude, whatever model they're using. So those are going to be the highest quality leads you can possibly get.
Couldn't agree more. I think it's a really exciting time. If you are interested in all of this and you don't want to do any of the work whatsoever, understandable, like get in touch with us. We definitely can help, but you can definitely get started, as we said, on your own. We think the best place to start is these inbound requests. Start following journalists that write in your, around real estate, and start following journalists in your local area as well. Follow them on Twitter, set alerts, see what they're writing about, reach out to them and start getting yourself featured.